Good. There we go. Awesome. Nice. All right. So we will talk about again. My plan for our meetings are to talk a lot more about the why things are the way they are, get a little more big picture. I think pretty much everything you need is in the videos in terms of that. So I was going to go from that standpoint. So dependence versus independence, and it's kind of a big deal. Learn how to spell, you ding dong. Dependence versus. I'll be glad when I forget that I used to know how to spell good, and then it won't bother me anymore. Once I get past the first part of dementia here, I think I'll be good. Dependence versus independent events. Okay. And so this is the deal. So obviously, if I roll 2 dice, clearly neither dice has any impact on the other one. So it makes no difference. Clearly, they are independent events, obviously. Okay. And whatever. I guess it better not be 2 3-sided. So clearly, independent events has no impact on my life, though. Okay. If you're going to go down and shoot some craps, good for you. That has no impact pretty much on most of our daily lives, though. Most things in my daily life are not independent. I woke up late. That's going to throw my day off. I'm going to have to hustle. I'm going to get stuck in traffic. I'm more likely to have all these other things happen because of something I did. Or something happened to me, and that first thing might have been independent. So, for instance, you got in a car wreck today. That might have been a completely independent thing. Someone hit you, rear-ended you, what have you. But then everything else, after that, for maybe the next couple of weeks, maybe it's your health, having to go to a chiropractor, deal with insurance, everything else. All depends on that. And so most of what we deal with in our daily lives is dependent events. Another example of a dependent event would be to say, all right, well, let's put names in here. Let's do this. So here's, I'm going to use short names because they're small pieces of paper. There you go. Fred. Get some ladies in there. Cat, sure. Joe. There, yeah. I don't care, whatever. If you select one of them out of there, let's say you select it, you reach in and select one out, and it's Joe, and she won a prize. So what's the probability that the next person is Joe? Well, it can't be Joe. You already pulled her out. Oh, yeah, that's right. It depends on what happened previously, right? Think about that. Clearly, if there's 5 people and there's 5 prizes, well, first of all, you're guaranteed a prize. But if you're not the first person picked and the second person picked and the third person, and you're going from like 5th prize up to grand prize or something, as time goes along and there's only 2 of you left in the pot, what's probably that you get the grand prize? Well, it's a lot better than it was, before you started. So it's increasing, it's changing, it's dwindling. So it depends on the situation. So that's all fine and good. But again, that doesn't really have any impact on my daily life. The things that have impact on my daily lives, and the reason we study this stuff in probability, is because we would like to be able to show that one thing has some dependence on something else. And if it does, what can we learn from that? What changes can we make? Etc. To get usually, I can't see why you'd want to do it worse, but a better outcome. Now, it could be a variety of things, right? So it could be the idea that, for instance, in education, we're constantly, it's always about pumping up graduation rates. Always. So my current boss is all about graduation rates, to the point where it's literally ridiculous, because she has gone out of her way to water stuff down. But then she'll say, hey, look, we got more people graduating. Isn't that great? No, not really. At the rate you're giving stuff out, how is it not 100%? I don't know. Other people will come in, and so we had a deal some years ago where we were losing too much money from the state because kids were absent or we were getting a lot of kids skipping classes. So their solution was, if you were 0 to 10 minutes late, we called you tardy, see? And then if you were greater than 10 minutes late, what does that say? Greater than 10 minutes late. You were no kidding, late, tardy. See? And then if you were just absent, see, then you were absent. And he came in, this one principal, and he goes, "Can you believe it? That's so great. Our attendance rate have gone up." I'm like, well, no kidding. If you quit marking people absent, then your attendance rates go up, obviously. Now, that's not helpful. That's ludicrous. That doesn't help anybody. Okay. So, well, it did. I guess it helped our money, but those are kind of phony, fakey things. But let's do it more like this. If you were working on an assembly line and you had the day shift and the swing shift and the graveyard shift, and you could show that there is a relationship between what shift you are on and the number of rejects, whatever it is you're making. They're not good enough. You're having to reject them. If you can show that graveyard is significantly worse than the rest of them, then as a boss, you're going to go in and find out why. The machines, they run too long during the course of the day. They're slopping them now, something like that. Is it because you're hiring people not that great at night? Is it because they don't have enough direct supervision at night? So the idea is that, yes, there is a difference between graveyard and the other two shifts. Then, of course, then you want to dig in further, because that's not the only reason. It's not just because nighttime causes you to make bad product. It's obviously something else. And so, again, what you've done is you've established that there's a relationship there. If it was independence would say, the same percentages of rejects per shift. And I'm going to do same percentages of rejects. There you go, per shift. And I'm going to say percentages because maybe the night shift isn't as big a shift as the day shift. So clearly, if you have a smaller shift working, you're not going to produce as much stuff. You're going to produce less rejects, obviously, but the percentage wise, it might be different. Okay. So independence would say it'd be the same. He would say the same, I left that out, same percentage of rejects per shift. That's what independence would say to us. Okay. Dependence says one or more shifts have significantly different percentages of rejects. Okay. And the idea is that if that's true, then I want to know why. Okay. If there's no difference, then the shift doesn't make any difference at all. You're like, well, we have a worse manager at night. Apparently it doesn't make any difference because it's not affecting your reject amounts. Okay. If you had a terrible manager who's sleeping or whatever, not worrying about quality control, whatever, yeah, that might be causing a difference in them if there was a difference. Okay. That is a big deal. Okay. So we can talk about independent, dependent events when it comes to rolling dice, flipping coins, things like this. But that where the rubber meets the road is, can you show, is there a relationship? And if so, what does that do for me? Okay. So in manufacturing, it's huge. Is it the machine? Maybe. Is it because of what shift you're on? Maybe. So there was actually a guy a couple years ago that works for Benchmade, and he actually did a deal where they compared day shifts and night shifts, I think it was, on his deal, to see if there's a significant difference. And there was a difference. And so then his boss was interested in why is that, and what can they do to make it up. Anytime you're dealing with quality control, that's always a huge deal, right? If you are making, it doesn't matter, pick any product you like that's sold nationwide. It could be Budweiser, to be Nabisco cracker, and Triscuits. Yes, Triscuits. When you buy a Triscuit, I don't care where you buy it, it better taste like a Triscuit. Okay, it better taste exactly like a Triscuit. I don't want to buy a Triscuit, in Portland, and they look like this big, and when I go down to Louisiana, I want to see them one that's this big or something. All right. And they, by God, all better be nice and square with the little checkerboards on them just perfectly, or I'm not going to be happy. Okay? I'm going to get on my phone and complain about this. All right. When I open a Budweiser, it better taste like a Budweiser, regardless of where it was made. In other words, it better be independent. The quality better be independent of where it's made. Where it is made, what machine, shift, etc. Okay, because they better be exactly the same regardless of where you go. That is the whole point of mass production. Okay, it always sounds good. Well, okay, that's not true. Some people like going to Saturday market. I was never one of them. But some people like going to Saturday market. You go to Saturday market, they say, "Oh, look, it's artisanal, whatever it is." Okay, and then they get stood up for $10 for whatever it is, bath soap or something. Okay, and you're like, "I got this bar of soap. Mine's bigger than your bar of soap, but it came from the same little hippie guy over there. That's cool, but it's artisanal, man. It's fine. Don't worry about it." But when you buy a bar of Dial soap, by God, it's the same size, shape, smell, color, everything, because that's what we do in manufacturing. We want zero slop. We don't want to see any slop at all. People hate that. They'll get on their little, what's that one app that you get on your phone and complain? Yelp. Get on your Yelp and start complaining about everything, yeah, oh, I'm going to complain about this. My bar of Dial soap wasn't this big or whatever. Oh, the ice at this McDonald's wasn't good or whatever. Who knows? The idea here is it's completely independent. Okay, we want that to be independent. We want no changes. I want nothing to affect my outcome at all. Okay, so that's a big deal. And I want you to kind of keep that in your mind going forward. Those are some big overarching things that we're always going to be talking about. Okay. Currently in the news, and this is all I'm going to say about this, is currently in the news, we're having all these protests going on. Okay. Everybody wants to have a reason for why we see discrepancies in certain racial components in jail populations. Okay. Everybody in their minds, when they look at it and they see a discrepancy, everybody has to have an explanation for it. Okay. So some people will say that the percentage of races in prison better be exactly the same as the percentage in the population. Okay. And so this is what they go in expecting. In other words, they think it's independent. So in other words, they should be no difference based on race, but they see a difference. And so they have to come up with an explanation for that. So one explanation for it might be that they think they will say this is systematic racism. Okay. Another person would look at that and go, well, listen, I see that there's a difference in that. Maybe there's some other reason besides that. But in either case, both sides of every issue, or 15 sides of every issue, has to try to come up with an explanation for it. Okay. Some people would say that this should be independent and they should be exactly the same. And so therefore, whatever. Other people would say maybe there's a dependency there, and not just a racial dependency. There's some other component. But people don't get that. They just start spouting numbers, right? They don't understand what they're actually saying. They're just spouting numbers randomly. And you're like, well, okay, that's true. That number may or may not be true, or maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I've heard people spout completely true statistics and completely false statistics on both sides of the whole thing. And you're like, can we just agree on an actual number, please? And then we can have a conversation. But when people start throwing out numbers, they're like, what they're saying here, when the people say that this should be exactly the same as this, they're saying it's independent of any racial component. Therefore, what I see being different, there must be some explanation for that. And then the question is, well, what is the explanation? Okay. It's kind of a minor topic in some respects, but in other respects, it's not at all, because we always assume something, right? We always assume this should be independent of that. This should be dependent of it. Whether we physically consciously say, oh no, this is an independent event or not, we think that way based on how we look at the world. Okay. And so that's just kind of some things. I start thinking about some of these things as you're like keeping up on the news as you see it. If you can try to, I don't know, I want to say, if you can step back from it a little ways and look at it from a lens of numbers, at least a little bit, and try to think about some of these arguments. Anytime I hear statistics, and most of the time I hear people brutalizing statistics more than anything else, that's what I always look at as I stop and think, what are their underlying thoughts behind this? Are they saying, are they assuming, are they living their lives as if this is an independent thing or a dependent thing? Okay. Or in other words, They're saying it's independent of race, therefore it must be dependent on something else, racism in the police force or something. Okay, so it's interesting, I think, from my standpoint as a teacher, to look at it from a statistical point of view and try to kind of see how people think about it. Not just this, in pretty much any argument where one side is spewing this kind of statistic, the other person saying, yes, I see your statistic, but this is why it's being caused. I don't agree that it's because of this. I think that it's because of this thing over here. And again, anytime you can try to lay cause or something like that, you're trying to lay dependency to something. Okay, so kind of keep that in the back of your head as we go along. Independence, dependence are huge concepts when it comes to probability, and you really can't overstate them. I think we do a lousy job, not me, but we as probability teachers, sometimes talking about them because we don't actually beat them to death enough. Normally, independent events goes like this. Hey, cool, 2 dice, awesome. They don't affect you. They're cool. They're independent. All right, moving right along. And you're like, well, okay, but there's more to it than that. And the idea that dependent events, you say that and you're like, oh, okay, but they don't normally make the crossover to actual data. Okay, so when you look at things like this, and the classic one is there's a lot of different classic ones, I guess. You could do men and women. All right, and you could do things like what they're going to watch on the TV. All right, now it could be things like this: football. What percentage of the population, or whatever. You could do it in terms of percentage of population, or you could do raw numbers and then get percentages. Either way makes no difference. Perhaps we'll do raw numbers here. This is at, I don't know, tuning into a game or something. Yep, that's exactly right, Peter. I like that. So perhaps it's like this, and you're like, Jay, this is so stereotypical. I don't know. Before you get all excited, just bear with me here. I like a volleyball game as much as the next person. It's funny, I have these kids in there I had in class over the years, like, are you coming to our volleyball game? I said, yeah, I was there. And they're like, where were you? I'm like, I was sitting way up high. I'm like, why, Mr. Grimm? I said, because I feel very uncomfortable going to a high school volleyball game the way you guys dress. And so I sit way up high where I can't see anything. I can just see you playing and I don't have to worry about it. They're like, oh, okay. Creeps me out just a little bit, to be honest with you. Golf. Okay. I don't know. Whatever it happens to be. Okay. I'm done. I ran out of room. There you go. Cool. Whatever. If you look across here, do we see the same percentages of men and women, let's say, attending these games? No, it doesn't look like it. It looks like we have a higher percentage of men attending the football games, perhaps a higher percentage of women attending the volleyball games. You're like, Jay, this is made up data. It is completely made up data. But what would happen is this: if this were true, if men were 50% of the population, and if what you like to watch, yeah, it's just creepy from a teacher standpoint. And by the way, knowing that there is a former teacher from St. Helens who's currently in prison right now for shenanigans and awfulness. Yeah, no, I'm up there by myself. Plus, I don't have to talk to anyone, which is it's an extra win for me. Yeah, so if men are 50% of the population, if we were independent, if this was independent, then out of these 130 people that were watching a football game, we should have expected 65 of each. Okay. And if this was truly independent, we would have expected 45 of each. And if this was independent, we would have expected 75 of each. Notice that that's right in the ballpark. I'm not going to complain about 80, 70. I was expecting 75 of each, and I got 80 and 70. That's not too far off. And again, this would have been something like this. But as you can see, they are wildly different. What does that tell me? We have a dependent event going on. Okay. And so when you look at this kind of thing, you're like, okay, well, you just made that data. Can you give me another one? Excuse me. Yeah, it's called demographics. When I listen to the radio stations that I listen to, except for one is like just a normal country station out of Longview, and they play a little bit of everything country. A little bit of every kind of commercial, right? There'll be like a realtor, and then there'll be this, and there'll be this, and everything. But a lot of the other stations I listen to, it's classic. It's always a divorce for men. It's erectile dysfunction, and it's about 3 or 4 things. I'm like, God dang, you're talking to all the 50-year-old guys or something. It's just weird. And the reason for that is because they know who's listening to the channel. Okay. It's not like they know, it's not like, you know, if I was listening to whatever the young kids listen to, if they even listen to radio anymore, you would never hear erectile dysfunction on that channel. You'd hear, you know, I don't know, an ad for the newest Miley Cyrus or whoever, you know, song or something. It would be something that would be more in that genre. It's the same reason when you turn on Oprah, you don't see a lot of Tool commercials. You don't see a lot of, hey, buy an F-150 during Oprah's thing. Although I'm sure people that watch Oprah, some of them do drive F-150s. It's not a big deal at that point. When you're watching a baseball game, you're going to see maybe a trucks and some other things. You're probably not going to see things that are more targeted to women. That's why, if you're that company and you're spending millions and millions of dollars on ads, you're not going to advertise on something where none of your potential buyers are on. Okay. And that's, again, if it was something like a, trying to think of a show that everybody watches, every men and women watch. I can't think of one right off the top of my head. I don't really watch TV anymore. But I think of a TV show that what's that? I've heard of it. What's that King's thing that's on one of the, like that old medieval stuff or something? Anyway, one of those shows where I've heard men and women talking about how wonderful. Oh my God, did you watch the latest episode? I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay, cool. Everybody watches that. That probably gets a little bit of everything put on that one. Okay. But a show that's targeted for mostly for men or mostly for younger men or mostly for this or mostly for that, you're going to target your audiences. Why? Because who watches is dependent on they're in a certain segment of the population. Okay. So demographics is all about this. It's just great. One more thing that I want to talk about this before I move on. At PCC several years ago, I brought this up, and this one girl, lady, well, she's a lady, she's in her late 20s. She was blurting out all these answers, which were the stereotype answers, which is what I wanted her to blurt out. And then we were going to point something out. And then after we got done, she got all offended and went and talked to my boss about it. And I'm like, you were the one that blurted out the answers, you weirdo. But here's the deal. I said, if someone's driving a brand new Porsche down the street, what can you tell me about that person? And she goes, it's an old man. And I went, yeah, you're probably right. And so let's just do men and women. And she goes, oh, okay. And so I said, all right, so let's fill in this thing out. If you put Porsche here, you know, what make some numbers up. She's like, so there's not many Porsches out there. She's like, no, not many Porsches. I'm like, so 25 men and 5 women? She's like, yeah, that sounds right. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, how about a PT Cruiser? She's like, old women. And I went, oh, okay, whatever. And then she got, okay. And so she's like dominating the whole class. But it's kind of funny at first. And if I'd known what was going to happen later, I would have shut her up, but I didn't, because I thought this was kind of funny at first. And then I go, how about a pickup with a ladder rack full of lumber, pulling a trailer with like some tools or stuff in it? She's like, oh, it's clearly a man. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right. I said, could a woman be driving? Oh, yeah, a woman could be. But no, it's a man. Like, oh, okay, whatever. She's very emphatic about it. All right. So we went down the list. I said, hey, I used to drive one of these when the kids were little. It was fabulous. I loved it for what its purpose was. I got rid of it as soon as I could. And my dad is 77 now, and he just bought one last year, and he thinks it's the greatest thing on the planet. I said, how about a minivan? And she goes, oh, it's probably more women, but they're men too. And I said, all right, whatever. So she pulled up some numbers, and I said, all right. And everyone's saying, oh, yeah, that sounds great. Sounds great. I go, how about a Camry? And everybody stopped and scratched their head for a minute. And then they're like, well, everybody drives a Camry. I'm like, that's right. Everybody drives a Camry. So would you agree to be something like, I don't know, 40 and 40 or some matchup? Yeah, that would make sense, because it's not really a thing. You see, everybody drives a Camry. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, so what this looks like to me is that men and women perhaps have different, overall, men and women as a group have different things that they might want to use a car for. For instance, Porsche, although if you gave me a Porsche, I would definitely take it. I would sell that sucker at glorified VW and go buy a bunch of cool cars that I actually want to have. But old guys buy those cars because it's, hey, look at me. I'm old and I'm rich and I can do it now. And I'm going through my midlife crisis. Awesome. Good for you. Women have other ways of doing that when they get older, I guess, right? They have other things of doing it. So they're not interested in buying a Porsche. All right, that's cool. I don't know why PT Cruisers. I don't know. My son wanted one when he was little. When he got 16, I asked him if he wanted one. He got all mad at me. No, I don't want a PT Cruiser. Whatever. It is what it is. You know, ladder truck, you know, a truck with a ladder rack and stuff on it and stuff, that's great for hauling lumber. It's terrible for hauling children as a general rule. You can't really put all their crap in there. I mean, you haul a lot of junk in it, but you have like 5 kids, you can't really fit them all in the front of the pickup. So that's not real great. But a minivan is fabulous for that. It's kind of hard to haul a ton of lumber in the thing. So, you know, whatever. You can do a little of this, a little of that. So clearly, different times of our lives, different things, whatever. Okay, great. So I made this statement. What you drive or what people drive is dependent on gender. And before I go any further, just let me say this. It would not be wrong to say that gender is dependent on car you drive. It just sounds weird. Okay. What we're saying here is that there's a relationship. That's all I need you to say. Okay. It just sounds weird the other way. Okay. It's kind of a personal pet peeve of mine. Anyway, the lady who was blurting out all the answers got bent out of shape at this point. I, by God, can drive whatever I want to drive. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Dependency doesn't mean you are forced to drive a car. It simply means that certain things, in this case, men versus women, perhaps, have different tastes, different likes, different needs, different whatever, and therefore will have different general purchasing ideas of what they want to drive. And I finally talked her down, but it took quite a while. She still talked to my boss about it, to which he said, Jay, you should just stay away from that. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to stay away from that. It is the basics of demographics. That's how you do demographic research. You see who's playing along. That's all it is. Okay. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's a thing. It's just, that's how it is. We all have different things that we like. Again, it could be based on age. It could be based on any number of things. And the idea here, again, is this. If it was 50-50, you would expect 15 and 15. That's wildly different than you got. There's 30 people here. Again, if it's 50-50, if that's what the population is, you would expect 15 of each, and so on and so on and so on down the line. Here, there's 80 people. Look, you would have expected 40, and what did you get? You got 40. And that is exactly the idea of what independence looks like in a statistical data chart, okay? When you're doing your pivot tables, I know some of you have been going through and doing those. When you have one of them pulled up, and maybe it is hair color versus eye color. I don't want to tip my head. I don't want to spill the beans on this, but when I make up these things, sometimes I spend a lot of time making up really great data. Other times I make data. It takes a lot of time to make great data, to be honest with you. Okay, it really does. Oh, fart. Just a minute. Other computer keeps trying to die. Don't die. Stay on over there. And then blue eyes, brown eyes, hazel, what am I missing? Green eyes. Okay. Would you expect hair color and eye color to be independent or dependent?
Mostly independent.
How come?
Because there's not a lot of direct links.
Okay, now remember, links and dependency don't mean causation. Okay, so if I dye my hair, it doesn't mean my eyes are going to change.
Right.
But they are related somehow, yes?
Sure.
Because if you ever see someone with black hair, you almost never see blue eyes, am I right?
It's very rare.
Very rare.
Yeah.
There's a girl I had as my TA a couple years ago, and she had the most like blue eyes, but this pitch black hair. And I'm like, are those your eyes? Are those contacts? And she go, why does everybody ask me that? I'm like, because nobody with black hair has like eyes that are just like blue eyes that are jumping out of your head. And she's like, oh, I guess that makes sense. So the idea is that, you know, blonde hair people, you know, they might be, and I'm just making this up, but it could be something a little more along the lines of blue-eyed folks tend to be melanin. You know, that's true. We don't need to get terribly characterically over the top with it, but let's just say that we had something like this. Okay, they could be more or less, you know, evenly distributed. Versus if you have black hair, man, you're going to have out of 100 people, this might be 80, and this might be this and this or something. All right, out of say 100 people. And then, you know, brunettes, you know, again, it might be something more like, again, let's say it's out of 100 people, because that just gives me something to kind of target towards. I don't know. that's what, 90, I don't know, whatever. And so the, you know, darker hair color is going to maybe tend more toward brown, okay, versus blue eyes, we're going to see a lot, or blonde hair is going to see a lot more blue eyes. Why? Because again, they have this, it's related through their genetics. It's not one's causing the other, it's that they're both related to or dependent on something else. But they go together, and they typically go together. It would be odd, very, very, very odd. Yeah. It'd be very odd if you saw something like this. I mean, bizarrely odd. If it was, if I just interviewed 100 people with different hair colors, oops, 100, 100, 100, and 100, and it would be very strange if you saw this. Well, it'd be strange from two standpoints. It'd be very weird that it was exactly a quarter of everything. Okay. But that's not what I'm getting at. I'm getting that the blonde haired people have the exact same distribution of eye color that black haired people do. That is bizarre, and we know that that's not true. This is what independence would more or less look like. Were you gonna say something, Gudrun?
I said they were picked.
Oh yeah, someone's been screwing with your data. You're right, exactly. Yeah, it would look. We know that it would look a lot more like this. And I don't know, I can't add too good. Was that 50? I don't know, I'm gonna change this up because I'm gonna fix it here so it works. 71 and 20 and 9, I guess that'll play, whatever. It's gonna be different, in other words. So this is another case where when you see data and you see that, hey, I've got a situation over here and I got a situation over here, and if they were independent, I would see exactly even distributions, but that's not what I'm seeing. Therefore, there must be some dependency here. Okay. So recently in this COVID thing, the hydroxychloroquine, not as a cure for the stuff, for the COVIDs, but as a protected against getting it. The reason that even came up at all is because people who were on lupus and had some other diseases who were on the hydroxychloroquine with the zinc mixture, those people there was a fewer number of them that were getting the disease, COVID, to start with. And that is why they started looking in that direction. That happens a lot in statistics, especially in medicine, where they see something, they realize there is some sort of connection here. We don't know what it is per se, but there's some sort of connection here. That's where you go off. It's not like you randomly pick up a starfish someday and go, I wonder if I squeeze this starfish and the goo that comes out of it, I wonder if it'll make this tumor die in this petri dish here. It's not like that at all, typically. Typically, it's like you see something, you realize, geez, there's something here. And what is it? There's some sort of relationship here, okay? If lupus patients and other people who are on that hydroxychloroquine and zinc combination, if they were getting COVID at the exact same rates, no one would have even thought to try it at all. They would have been like, probably not, and then just keep going, okay? It'd be like saying, here, try some aspirin, maybe that'll work. That's weird because you'd be grasping at straws at that point, okay? So that's the general gist of it. You can argue about this and that. They've done some tests to show that it doesn't do anything to cure it. But the reason it ever came up at all is because they noticed that there was some sort of a relationship there between those folks who were on it and the people that were not on it versus in the percentage of people who were actually coming down with the COVIDs, okay? So that's where that comes in. Again, that's an independence dependence thing, and they were looking at data and seeing, from the data, can we show any kind of dependence? And if there is, what else can we do? And then perhaps lupus patients have something else that helps them to fight it off as well, okay? But again, that's where they started with that procedure, okay? That's kind of about all I want to say about independence and dependence. You could spend days and days and days talking about it, but I think that's the big key piece of it, is kind of understanding dependence is what it's all about. If you can show a relationship, if you can then, because of that relationship, make a decision, make a decision, do something that's going to profit us, make us a better product, make us a better medicine, have a better cure, whatever it is, that's what we want to be doing, okay? What was I going to say? Oh, shoot. Oh, yeah, along those same lines is conditional probability. And so you've seen this before, obviously, at some point in your life. Back then, we talked about, hey, there's 5 names in a bowl. Somebody else's name got picked out initially. So your probability. Now that that person's no longer in the running, how does that affect your probability? That is the idea of conditional probability. Okay. And so think about this. If you are going to be testing some new drug on cancer patients, okay, whatever, and whatever it is, you're testing some new cancer drug, I should say, then what do you care about? You care about people with cancer. That's right, that's right. So there's the whole population, but you're only focused in on people with cancer, okay? If you are talking about, there's a variety of other things, that similar situations. I guess I'll just go ahead and shoot my favorite example of all time. And I think it was 2007 or 8, I read an article right before my statistics class at the high school, and it said, and I quote, 25%, no, actually it didn't say 25%, it said 1 in 4 teen girls, 13 to 17, have at least one STD. And I read that and I went, all right, I am talking about conditional probability today. This is going to be fabulous. So I read the article further. 1 in 2 teen girls, 13 to 17, are active. Sweet. Interesting. This is going to just set up my whole lesson. This is going to be great. So I read this. Everyone went, oh, gross. And then one girl pointed out the other 4 girls in the class she thought it was. And I thought I was in big trouble. But I drew this picture on the board. I said, all right, here we go. Active. Non-active. Right? 50-50. 1 and 2. And then I do this picture like so. STD, non-STD. What do you think? That's 25%, right? What strikes you about that? Anything? I hope something strikes you. Are you asleep? I see Mel still moving, so that person, yeah, okay. Mel's still not asleep.
Well,
Cameron's not asleep either. Excellent, he moved. Excellent.
well, if they're not active, the probability of them having an STD is probably much lower than that.
What? Are you kidding me? You mean the S stands for something? Weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
So that's what all the kids said too. So I do this picture. I'm like, does that make you happier? And then of course I'm like, oh, Mr. Grimm, you know that there are some kids, there are some people over there. I'm like, okay, but we agree that the percentage is quite a bit smaller. And they're like, well, yeah, okay. So what part of this stands out to you? And they're like, I said, do these people over here stand out to you much? And they're like, not really. I'm like, why? Because they don't have anything. I'm like, oh, so you're not really interested in them. Well, right. So then they're like, so I say, here's my question. What percent of active people, active teen girls, let's be very specific here, 13 to 17. By the way, this is again in 2008. And by the way, if you just Google this, you will see it's from the Centers for Disease Control. It's still up there and it's on everything. One gal at P, and this is my favorite story to tell. It literally happened. I can still remember like it was yesterday. And this one gal at PCC who was observing me one day, she's like, oh, I don't know if you should mention that. I'm like, why not? You crazy person. I got people to listen to my story. It's funny. Anyway, so I said, Google it, you'll find it. And she's like, oh, it's from the CDC. I'm like, well, what do you think? I just made it up? I said, come on now. So what percent of teen girls, 13 to 17 have, this is my favorite part, at least one STD. Okay, what percentage is that? Again, I'm not really interested in this side right now.
So it's 25% of 50%.
25% out of 50%, which is 50%. Nice. So 50% of active girls back then, 13 to 17, had at least one STD. Okay, that's from the actual data. We got to hear, and this one boy in the back of the room starts freaking out. Now I know him, I know his family. I've taught most of his brothers and sisters, the great Mormon family, just funny, nice people. And he starts freaking out. I'm like, dude, what is your problem? He's like, oh, what am I gonna do? Oh my God. I'm like, okay, quit hyperventilating. I said, I mean this with all due respect. Have you been on a date yet? No. And now I know your family, I know all your sisters and brothers. When you go to your first shindig, it's gonna be at the church, right? He's like, yeah. It's going to be something like playing games and stuff, right? Yeah. I said, are you going to be having sex? Well, no. I'm like, okay. And will most of the girls at your shindig be, I don't know, what side of the graph will they be on? Well, they're non-active. I'm like, okay. So finally I talked him down off the roof. I'm like, just relax, you're okay. And like right when I got done talking to him, these other kids are like, yeah, all right. I'm like, now you three idiots, now you should probably be worried, okay? But ridiculous, okay? And I'm sitting there I'm sitting there looking at these guys. I'm like, you're insane. But again, when we look at this, if this were what it actually looked like, would I have a transmitted disease? Yes. But you know what I wouldn't have? I wouldn't have a sexually transmitted disease. You see the difference? So the flu is a transmitted disease. Everybody gets it. It has nothing to do with whether you're active or not. So flu, non-flu, okay? The cold virus, any number of other viruses and whatnot are transmitted diseases. They move through the population. But they have nothing to do with whether you're active or not, okay? And because they have nothing to do with that or not, we don't call them STDs. We just call them TDs, okay? Transmitted diseases. Back in the 80s, when AIDS kind of first became a thing, everybody was freaked out about it because they didn't know exactly how it was transmitted at the time. They didn't know it was straight up 100%, well, almost 100% sexually transmitted disease. And, can you get off the toilet? Can you get it from this? Can you get it from that? Can you get it from this? That freaked people out because if you had a disease that killed people, and not the flu, but straight up killed people, and it didn't matter whether you were active or not, or any other thing that you could change, all right? Well, any other big thing that you can change. And it was like, let's say it's going to kill 10% of the population. That freaks a person out. That just freaks you out that you're going to catch this, and basically a death sentence, right? That was a big deal. And when they showed that, no, it is a sexually transmitted disease. Most people that have, almost everybody that has it is got it from sexual transmission. Oh, well then the other people can then kind of sort of calm down and realize that maybe there's something that, because there's something they can do about it, it's not as maybe big a concern to them as they go along, okay? But again, that right there is conditional probability. We don't necessarily care about people, in this case, who are non-active. If you're the doctor, and that's the thing, that's the other thing too. People get all, why are they talking about teen girls? Because girls go to the doctor a lot more often to get checked out. That's why, and they'll discover these things. You can do your assumptions based on teen boys, but maybe they're not getting checked out as often. Okay, so typically you see a lot more girl data, but it's just kind of interesting to always kind of go in and look at it in terms of that. If you lived in, I don't know, some horrible part of the world where 10% of the cars are stolen, which, by the way, doesn't sound like a lot. I mean, when you say 10%, but 10% of all cars are stolen, that is a lot of cars getting stolen. That would be kind of a crappy place to live, in my opinion. All right, non-stolen. Okay, now, here's the deal. When the cops go looking for their cars and go looking for stolen cars, do they, and let's say this is they steal a lot of them, but you find them a lot of them. So, I don't know, the meth heads are stealing your radios and leaving parked around the corner or something. They're not like chop shops and shipping your car off to somewhere else. So they're just stealing your I don't know, your Miley Cyrus CD and the record player, or not the record player, when I sound like Joe Biden, your tape deck or whatever, your CD player or whatever, and off you go. Okay. The cops are going to go looking for the cars, right? So cops only look for stolen radios. Or stolen cars, obviously. And in this town, what is the maximum number of the actual cars out there in the world that they could actually find? The most they could ever find is 10% of all of the cars, yes? So if you think about that, that's the most because that's all that were stolen. They're not looking for your car didn't get stolen, all right? But here's the deal. If I do a picture like this, and these are the cars here were found, cars found, okay, then obviously these ones were not found. If you think about this for a minute, okay, let's say that this is 8.5% of all cars. Well, that's nice. So what we're saying here, what is the probability that your car is found, given that it was stolen? Okay, well, in this town, it is 8.5% out of 10%, or roughly, you know, in these made up numbers. In other words, they find 85% of the cars that are stolen. Okay. So it's, again, they're ridiculous. So you do it to your little town. Maybe there's 2% of the cars are stolen ever. And then maybe they find 96% of the cars that are stolen or whatever. All right, cool. It just, obviously it's the same ideas here. This situation, though, so there's nothing happening on this side over here. Nothing's going on this side. Okay. You know, years ago, they came out with some ideas about chewing tobacco. So you chew or you don't chew. And you get oral cancer, or you have no oral cancer. And so I'm just gonna draw it in quarters, but then I'm gonna kind of like put some numbers in there, and then we'll kind of redraw it so you can kind of see what I mean by this. So the oral cancer people here, let's say, so people that chew. So the top row is people who chew. So let's look at 100 people that chew, and this might be something like 40 and 60. And down here, this is people who don't chew. Let's just do 100 people, and let's make this I don't know, like 5 and 95. Cool. So if you look at that, in this situation, we could break it down any number of ways, I guess, in terms of percentages, but let's just actually look at this. So if you look at the top row, the way I've split this top row up, this is a 40%, 60% kind of a deal going side to side there like that. Okay. And then down here on the bottom, it's 95.5, like so, 95%, 5%. Okay. I don't know if that helped, because I used the exact same numbers, but I shouldn't have done that probably. Oh well. Okay. So when I look at that, you're like, oh, all right. So only 40% of people who chew have oral cancer. Yes, that's, or sorry, only of the 40% of people who chew have oral cancer. That's true. However, what percent of oral cancer chew? Or another way of saying that, what's the probability that you have oral cancer given that you chew? Okay. So I'm sorry, other way around. What's the probability that you chew, sorry, given that you have oral cancer? Cancer, good Lord. All right, so 45 people have oral cancer, 40 of them chew. That is 89% or thereabouts, okay? That is how they come up with those kind of situations in terms of that. What percent, if you did it the other way around, what's the probability that you, chew, given that you don't have oral cancer? You can do this and you basically compare both sides and you see there's a whopping difference. And you're like, oh, well, that's a big deal. So it's 60 out of 95. This is a great deal different percentage wise. And so because there's a great deal difference, what you're establishing here is a dependency. And what I think every time, what I always want people to learn when they're done with my class is dependency and conditional probability always go hand in hand. Always go hand in hand. All right, because what we're looking at here, when I do this is conditional probability. Okay, that's true. And so what is that saying? We are trying to establish that there's a relationship between chewing tobacco and oral cancer. Okay, and if you can establish that, then the Surgeon General puts out a warning, you quit chewing, whatever. People get demonized for doing it, and so on and so on and so on. We make changes, in other words. If there was no difference, then all you could say is that the next person who spits in an open bottle in front of me, I'm going to strangle him. But that's a totally different thing, because I drank some in high school one time on accident from someone's chew can, and that kind of grossed me out for the rest of my life. It has nothing to do with the cancer part of it. Doesn't really concern me. The fact that I got grossed out when I was a child, and it still stays with me until I'm 50 years old. So that's what bothers me more than anything else. So again, dependent relationships and conditional probability, they go hand in hand. They always will go hand in hand. Okay. That is something that I think I really want you to always think about. Okay. And then the last part of this tonight is when we get a flip side of that is to look at it from a different standpoint. So what's called Bayes' theorem, and there is a video on this as well. that all of it ties together because all of it is looking at it from one long continuous spectrum, okay? So let's say that you get, let's say you could buy some chips for your, whatever it is you're building, and you get them from 3 manufacturers, okay? And I don't know why you buy them from manufacturer A, but his are 10% defective. So why you're buying from him, I have no idea. 2% from this guy, and let's say 5% from this guy, cool, whatever, all right? And you buy 50% of your chips are purchased from this guy, 50% of your chips. Yeah, they're bad quality control, Peter. I'm sorry. All right, so maybe not chips. Yeah, okay, we could do. I was thinking like processing chips, but potato chips. I was thinking more along the lines. Probably should have said resistors, or something else that you'd buy a ton of. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. Computer doodads. How about that? Okay, we'll just think about computer doodads for now. All right. Don't overthink it, for God's sakes. There you go. We're gonna pretend for now, Peter. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. I got to keep up on my defectiveness. Awesome. All right, whatever. There we go. And then 30% from this guy and 20% of our population from here. Okay. So what I want to know is this: if I find a defective chip or doodad or whatever, okay, so given that it's defective, what is the probability that it came from manufacturer A? Okay, so another way of saying that is this: what's the probability that it came from manufacturer A, given that it was defective? Okay, that's what we want to know. So notice the difference here. The difference here is that this is where we purchased them from, and then we're looking at the defective portion over here. In terms of the other way around, defective ones, for instance, the car had to be stolen and then found, whatever. So given that it was found, what's probably that it was stolen? That's just weird, the things like that. This situation, we had them coming from multiple different scenarios, okay? And so the idea is this, okay? You could write it either way you want to. I'll do A, B, C, like that. And then, so we know that A is 20%, and then defective is 10. Now I feel bad, Peter. I have to rewrite my whole lesson curriculum. Not really, I probably won't. I'll just call them some other kind of doodads from now on. Whatever, and 0.3 and 0.98. And then what we got here, 50% and 0.05 and 0.95. Okay? So what I'm actually interested in is defective has to happen first. Okay, well, defective is it's 10% of these 20%. So 10% of the 20% would be 2%. I'm gonna go ahead and write the numbers over here. 90% of 20% is 18%. These are the good chips from manufacturer. Right? These are the defective ones. I'm gonna box the defective ones. So 2% of the 30% is 6%. If I'm not mistaken, that means this must be 24%. Got to be right. It just looks funny. No, 24%. That sounds dirty and wrong. Let's try that again. 0.3 times 0.98. 29.4. Jay, you can't, because it's 0.006, you dumbass. There's your problem. There you go. Pardon me while I quit screwing around here for a minute. 0.294. That makes me happier. But again, the reason I went back and looked at it is because I know that this plus this better up to 30%, because that's 30% of our chips came from B. Okay, and again they broke off. 2% were bad and 98% were good, or whatever. Okay, so let's try this again. So half of 5% is 2.5%. That one I can probably do in my head, I guess. And then the rest of that would be 47.5%, I guess. Okay, and these again are the defective chips. So notice what happens here is the defective had to happen first. So that's my denominator. And I go through this pretty good. One of the ones I do in the video is talking about drug testing. Okay, so the reason that we use this sort of thing is, in this case, maybe we know which of the products came from which counties, or from which manufacturers. Oftentimes this is used in a different way if you're doing things like public health, and you may not know what % of the population in your county uses meth or whatever. And so you can do some testing with drug testings. You can actually work backwards to try to get an approximation for what % of your county uses meth based on some testing things that you do, okay? So the question is, this is the total percentage of defective. That's what my denominator is, because that's out of the total amount. What's going to go on top is, well, just the ones from manufacturer A is what's going to go on top. Okay. So if you're doing the math at home, you can see that 0.02 plus 0.006 plus 0.025 is that, and then 0.02 divided by that. So we get about 39% chance that a defective resistor came from manufacturer A. Okay, so that's kind of the game. And then obviously in this situation, what might be more like it is that you may or may not know. You may not know where you may have some product that's there. All you know is that maybe they are resistors. Resistors are hard to tell apart where they came from. They're just resistors, and there's zillions of them. And so you may not know where they actually came from, but you know what % of defective ones came from the A manufacturers, B manufacturers, C manufacturers. So you could get an idea that, hey, 39% of our defective ones in essence are coming from manufacturer A. And that's a lot, so maybe you'd want to change that up and look at some marketing pieces there. Okay. Yes, exactly. So, yeah. So you'd really want to pay attention to these things, obviously. But that's an idea of working on quality control on the front end of things, because you want to catch things before you get down the line. We got a truck donated. We get trucks and cars donated to our program all the time. And I have this one, it's 2008 F-150. Well, I'm probably going to put a new head on the one side. So that's about $900. But while you're in there, there's some other things. And so I have a little experience with these things, and everybody I've talked to has way more experience than me. Like, don't even go anything aftermarket inside of this particular kind of Ford engine, because they have issues. Everything must be gotten from, you need to get those stuff all from Ford, because all of the finer details and points of them. And so I was just doing that right before I got on the phone with you guys, or on the call with you guys here, as I was on the phone with our Ford dealer, getting the prices from them, because for all the internal pieces I'm going to buy from them. The other stuff I don't mind, like I don't mind buying gaskets from the aftermarket, but like I would never buy any of the timing components for this 5.4 engine, because of just based on the fact that it doesn't matter who you go with, what aftermarket one you go with, they're almost always enough off to either cause your engine to run lousy and or do damage to your engine. Now, that same outfit, Napa, let's say, or CarQuest or whoever, you could buy other parts just fine, and whatever it happens to be, like a door handle or even other internal components for other engines. I've not had problems with Napa stuff per se, but absolutely no way would I go with that. Why is that? Because I've seen it a few times myself, but other guys that work on them extensively have said that over and over and over and over again. And I want to catch it on the front end. It's a 20-hour job to change one head on this thing. And that doesn't include if you take the timing gear completely off. So one doesn't want to do yeah, exactly. So yeah, there you go. Exactly. Genotype, German phenotype. You're right there. Yeah, so Ford, it's not a terrible engine, but it has its issues, and they stay with it for a long time. And finally, they're kind of starting to go away from that design a little bit. But yeah, it's one of those things where nobody else, the aftermarket doesn't quality control the way that Ford does their stuff. So it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Okay. Oh, phenotypes and genotypes. It's all that's all in the, I don't really know either. It's all the biology stuff. I've heard of it anyways. There you go. But yeah, so dependent relationships. So that's kind of the big deal that I want you to take away from this tonight. Again, everything we talked about tonight was, well, besides the one or two slight dependent cases, was all about dependencies. Okay, so dependencies again doesn't mean cause and effect necessarily. Sometimes it does. Obviously, if you eat, the more calories you eat, you tend to get fatter. That's just a fact. There's obviously one or two weird exceptions to the rule. You know, a friend of mine I went to high school with could eat, I don't know, a horse every day and never gain a pound, and he's still that skinny now, and we all hate him. But he's the exception to the rule. The rest of us, the more you eat, the fatter you get. That's just how life goes. You know, it's one of those things that is definitely cause and effect. There are other things where they just happen to have a relationship. Again, like demographics, and people prefer certain different things in their life, whatever it happens to be. If you were yes, those people. So, you know, if you had a certain store and you knew that you catered, if you catered to certain tastes or catered to certain people, then obviously at your store you're going to have different products on the shelf, because people that come into your store, you're catering to them. You're going to have stuff that caters to their needs, wants, desires. That's why you're trying to stay in business. Okay. If you've given them, whether it's surveys or whether they're just people that are outdoors people, when you go into a Whole Foods or someplace like that, everything on their shelves has that whole thing that screams, I'm into Whole Foods and organic stuff. Pretty much everything on their shelf screams that, because they know their audience. All right. They would never put something on their shelf. It would be like, they would scream, like, I don't know, whatever the opposite of that is, right? They would never put that on their shelves, because everything on their shelves is geared that direction. Okay. You go to Fred Meyer's, you see some of this, some of that, some of this, some of that. Why? Because Fred Meyer's is trying to have a little more of a broad outreach, maybe in terms of food consumption, just different things like that. So again, it really depends on, obviously, on what your niche market is. The whole concept of a niche market is a dependent relationship. So, yeah. So that's what I hope you guys leave with today on this deal, is a real better concept of independent, dependent, and conditional. And Bayes, they're all the exact same thing. It's just looking at it from a different point of view, right? Bayes kind of comes in, looks at it after the fact, and wants to look backwards and see what's going on in the front end of things. But that's really the only difference. Conditional, dependent, those two are married together. You can't get away with them. You can either be asking me about a dependent situation, or you can be asking me about a conditional, but to solve for the one, I got to know the other one. That's just how it always goes. Okay. I'll write that down real quick before I forget. It's in the video, but I want to just show this real quick and then we'll hang up. The probability of B given A is equal to the probability of A and B happening over the probability that A happened already. Okay. So the probability that you have an STD given that you are active is equal to the probability that you are active and have an STD over the probability of active. If you will, the given is what has to come first. That's why it's in the denominator. Okay. So again, you cannot have one without the other. This is conditional right here. This piece right here is conditional. This top piece is dependent. So you could turn it inside out if that makes you happy, and you could solve it the other way. So the probability of A times the probability of B given A is equal to the probability of A and B happening, where A and B are dependent. Okay? So to say that they're two sides of the same coin is kind of selling it short. It's more important than that. They always go together. My gray, brown, or white what? I'm confused. Gudrun, you're killing me. I gotta go look at the. Oh, there we go. Mouse. We're talking about mouse now. It's freaking me out. Nice. That's all beyond me, people. That's all beyond me. I can't do biology stuff. All right, I'll stick to math. That's my only science. Okay. Any questions? Stuff you want to see from the homework at all? Any questions on the homework or anything? Taylor, yes. Question?
Yeah, I got a question. It's just not related to the homework, so I wanted to wait if somebody else had a question.
Have at it, man. I don't think anybody's gonna ask
Okay.
you.
So yeah, I've got your discrete math class that I'm taking with this one, and
Yeah.
I've noticed that they're really they overlap a lot, the subjects.
Just a little bit at first is all.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering if there's because I was wondering if there will be any more overlap.
No,
Okay, cool, great.
just the probability piece.
And then is there any details on what is right now the biggest difference between this class and is this discrete math? I get them mixed up now.
This is the stats class. The other one's
Okay.
discrete.
Between this one and discrete, is there something that we're going over that's starkly different?
Oh, vastly different. So the trees and the scheduling, all of that, totally different than this class. There won't be any integrals or derivatives in that class. When we get going on this stuff, you're going to be doing integrals, derivatives, all kinds of good stuff later on. This class will be all probability and statistics throughout. That class, after we get done with stuff we're doing now, we're going to get into sequences and series, and then there'll be some stuff on some proofs, and there'll be some stuff on, you're making me think. Anyway,
That's
the only overlap at all is probability. And the only reason that it's in there, well, I don't know if that's the only reason, but one of the reasons it's in there is it's a good way to teach set theory. So you talk about we talk about and in this class a lot. And this book does, both of these books use the intersection, and that's fine. I prefer but intersection. But if you look at it from a group theory standpoint, it's where the two circles or the two sets overlap one another is the intersection. And then union is when you put the two sets together and form one set. And so that would be the case of and so the big reason I think that it's brought up in the discrete classes is a nice way to teach. It's a nice way to teach set theory is probability. It's a good application of set theory.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. I personally can't get enough statistics and probability. That's what my master's degree is supposed to be in statistics, but Portland State happened, so it's technically just a master's in math. But it was supposed to be all statistics because I really wanted to get into my plan was to have a sideline and then maybe quit teaching and do that later, but it didn't work out. So I'm okay with that, but I really love statistics. So good statistics. Don't talk to me about the war of some baseball player. I might throw up on you. I hate that crap. Okay.
Hard to do that digitally.
What's that? No, what'd you say?
Hard to do that digitally.
Yeah. I just, it's like the only place in the world where two great things make something worse. So I love baseball. I love statistics. When you put them the two together, it just makes me want to throw up. Homework due before midnight the homework's due on Sunday nights at 11:59. And that's what it should say. If it doesn't, I'm going to fix that because that's what it should say. That's when I make all my stuff due. Pretty much is going to be on 11:59 on Sunday nights. Give you all weekend to work on. Anything else?
How do you want that submitted? Do you just want us to like take pictures of our written out homework and upload it that way?
Yeah, that or scan it, whatever's easier for you. Yep.
Okay.
Anything else? All righty. Well, have
Yeah.
a good week.
Doctor, when is the first midterm?
Oh, I don't know. Somewhere I have my syllabus. And I can open it for you. Maybe. Looks like it is on July 20th.
Oh, okay.
It's on the syllabus.
Oh, okay. Good,
Yep.
good. Thank
I've also got a question for you, but it's an opinion.
It's an opinion.
Yeah. You were talking about car vehicles and gaskets. I've got to replace my brake master cylinder, and because it's leaking oil. Do you think I should do that if I can't do that myself, I should do it myself or get somebody else to do it?
What kind of car?
Tundra 06.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you totally can do it yourself. If you, the thing I would want to do before I do anything else, there's a, you can get, So what you'll have coming off the master cylinder, there's 2 lines coming off of it. You can buy a kit. They make a kit for it. And so you put these 2 lines, like plastic lines, into those 2 holes. And then the lines will loop back up into the master cylinder reservoir. And then you sit there and prime the thing. It's best to do it like in a vise is where I normally do it. Put it in a vise and then just take the rod and just go in there and actuate the thing a bunch of times. When it quits pumping, you quit seeing air bubbles, then it's primed. And then you can put it on the car and then you bleed the brakes and you should be good to go. It's not
Okay,
too,
great.
but you're gonna want they call it bench bleeding. You're gonna want to bench bleed it before you do anything else.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Glad I asked. Thanks.
Yep. All righty. Cool. All right, all. Well, have a good night.
Also, where's the data for the pivot table assignment?
Think it's right there with it, isn't it? Let me look real quick.
It should be there. I saw it.
I think if you
I
just click
see
on, if you click on the
the
assignment,
pivot
you
table
see there's
data.
a Excel spreadsheet right there, I think, with it. I'm gonna click on it real quick. I haven't seen it in a while, so let me look here. 465, that's the master one. Where's summer? There it is. Oh, I should be showing you this, sorry. Somewhere. Pivot table, pivot table. Yeah, it's right there. Here's the data. Right there's the Excel. You see it?
When I downloaded it, it just opened up the questions again, like the list of questions in a PDF form.
Oh, that's weird. All right, I'll fix that. I don't know what happened, but we'll fix it.
All right, thank you.
That's really strange. All right. Yeah, I'll fix that when I get off here. As soon as I get off. Any other questions, comments?
No questions, but I had the tables correct.
You had the tables correct.
Yeah, I
On
got
what?
the table and the questions.
Oh, good.
Okay, I'll
all right.
talk next time.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Come on, log me off, you stupid computer. Why don't you go away? There